Hi, this is John and Erin Bright, and we are the owners of Lighthouse Inspect. We're a residential and commercial property inspection company, um, and we're going live for the first time. So, welcome to our debut. um,
Yeah, we're trying to figure out some of this sound and audio stuff. So we are definitely not pros, but thanks for bearing with us on our first Lighthouse Live.
yeah. So, I thought that we would cover. I kind of teased it out in a story earlier and shared that there's something home maintenance wise that John and I talk about all the time. Um, I probably talk about it the most. And by talk about it, I mean I'm constantly asking him questions every time I see a new crack appear in our house. So that might be somewhere around our house in a bathroom, maybe like in the corner of the wall or in our basement spaces.
Or even just a cobweb casting a shadow. That could be a.
For sure. Yes. So I'm always like, John, did you see this? What about this one? Now this one. And now we've lived here for many, many years. And so I know that some of these cracks open up and some of them close up throughout the year. Um, so it is what he tells me that it's okay and it's not a big deal. But I'm still always asking. And so earlier this past week, I asked you all for questions like what are the burning questions that you have about your homes. And someone came back, a friend from college, and she said, hey, I'm just wondering, I have this question about concrete. So I kind of know that concrete cracks, but how do I know if it's a real crack that I should be concerned about and should take action on? Or how do I know if it's just kind of like what I was talking about, one of those cracks that kind of opens and closes in my house and it's not really doing anything wrong? So I brought my favorite inspector um, to answer that question because he has all the knowledge about cracks. So take it away, John.
Well, let's see. I'm not sure concrete's all it's cracked up to be. Yeah. I might crack a few jokes, but.
He is the king of puns. Mm-hmm.
So essentially, there are two kinds of concrete out there. There is concrete that is cracked, and there's concrete that is not cracked yet. Almost virtually all concrete cracks. So when we are out on inspections, it's very rare that I see a house that's 15, 20, 25 years old that doesn't have cracks in the garage floor, some kind of vertical, um, we call them shrinkage cracks in the foundation walls or on the outside of the foundation exterior or even down the driveway and sidewalks. So cracking in concrete is totally normal, totally common. I do, however, sometimes see the rare house like from 1978, and I walk in the garage and I'm like, how is this garage floor not have a single crack in it? And frankly, I think it just means they had some really good contractors that mixed that concrete well and installed it just right under pristine conditions for it to stand up that way. So, um, in foundations, when you're talking about cracks, you're seeing cracks. Most cracks we see run pretty vertical. Vertical cracks are not typically a structural concern. What we look at when we look at these cracks are is it a uniform crack all the way? If it's a uniform crack all the way, it may be from some minor settlement or shrinkage. Sometimes it's shrinkage. And we're also trying to determine, is it a through crack? Does it go all the way through the wall or is it just kind of on one side? Usually your concern with a vertical crack in a foundation is just simply moisture intrusion coming through. It's not a structural concern. Hey, my house is going to fall over. It is, I don't want water to come into my basement. And thankfully, it's pretty economical to get vertical cracks sealed with a thing called epoxy injection, where they throw these little nozzles in the wall and shoot some injection in there. That seals up. A lot of the product out there actually cures stronger than concrete. Um, so it's a nice structural addition to that crack as well. Now, cracks that not all cracks are not a concern. Some cracks are a concern. Some things we're looking for is if there's a big diagonal crack coming off of doors, the corner of doors, the corner of windows, the corner of your foundation. If we see a crack that's on this wall coming up on a diagonal, and then the adjacent wall meeting and at the corner with a mirrored crack, that's a sign of a little bit bigger issue that is settlement. The other thing we're looking for is there any kind of taper in that crack? So we're looking for, is the house pulling away from the top? Is it settling down over here? Or do we have some kind of lift action going, shear, where one end of the crack is wider than the other? So what can you do as a homeowner if you have some cracks? First, if it's a nice, really tight, small crack, less than 1/4 inch in width, just keep an eye on it. So if it's, especially if it's just vertical, just kind of keep an eye on it and check and see if you're seeing any kind of moisture stains or moisture's coming through there. Another thing is, have it in your mind to go down and look at it and see, is it starting to taper at all? Now, Aaron was mentioning some cracks in our house that kind of come and then they disappear. That is the thermal dynamics of the materials in our home causing that. It's thermal expansion and contraction. As you guys know, most of our homes here in Southwest Ohio, we have seasons. So it gets colder during parts of the year and it gets hotter during other parts of the year. Well, guess what? The materials in our home expand and contract. So sometimes you may have some cracks in your drywall, at a ceiling corner. We see this a lot on vaulted ceilings where, you may have that living room that has the vaulted ceiling that kind of comes up in a peak. We'll see a lot of cracks in the corner there. And what we find out is throughout the year, when that stuff cools down, it maybe shows a little bit more. And then when it gets warm and expands, it kind of closes back up. Those are really cosmetic concerns. Now, if you start to see any kind of jagged cracks coming off a door or a window, or your doors or windows start binding when you're trying to open or close them, now you're talking about structural movement.
Yeah. So, like for years, but I really wasn't consistent looking at it. So there's one along a corner in our, not off of a door, so where a ceiling and a wall meet, there was a crack that started to appear here on a bathroom of ours. And I swear I was sure that our house was going to fall down. But the longer that John kept telling me, it's really okay, I promise, I actually have seen that close up. And then I was like, I'm the one who like took the picture because I take the pictures of everything. And so then I have the date on the picture and then went back many months later and was like, oh, wow, it actually does look pretty different because it has now closed up. And so really a great piece of advice. Take a picture um, that you can have a date to for some of those cracks. If you're like me and maybe you worry a little bit more than John does about cracks. So let's see. I also told them that I would share, and it's related, one of the things we spent the most money so far, home maintenance wise. And that was on some cracks in our basement, in our foundation. So, do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it was actually more around moisture intrusion in our basement.
Oh yeah. So wait, let me tell everybody. Okay, so what is this? Is I hear him tell people this all the time, so it's not my original content. But what is your house's biggest enemy? What do you think it is? Three, two, one. What is it, John?
Well, we always say crack kills. I'm joking. It's moisture, water.
Yeah.
Water is your home's biggest enemy. So everything we design in a home, as we're building homes, to keep the inside of the home healthy, the air healthy, the materials healthy, is the entire home is a system that is working together. So that starts with your roof, and your exterior covering on your home, a foundation, and even drainage around your footers. And all that system's designed to do is shed the water and move it away from your home.
Now that's like really actually more important than most people, or at least than I ever realized. The idea that the best thing you can do for your house is make sure it's shutting that water away from your home. It's so critical to the safety, to the long term health of your home. And I think most people, most homeowners, or people who are just living in homes might not realize how critical that is to the overall health of your home.
Yeah. So Aaron was talking about what, a large expense we had in our home. We actually had the entire front and one side of our home dug down to the footer and new drainage tile put in, and the exterior of the foundation wall waterproofed, and then backfilled with some gravel, then some dirt, and compacted down. Then they had to come back out a little bit later because the ground settles when they do that, and put some more dirt in. And it was quite an expense, but when we moved into our home, it was our basement was finished, and we could smell a musty smell down there. So we gutted the basement, and demoed all the stuff out of there, and we could see like efflorescence, which will be another topic sometime.
Mm.
Um, on our foundation walls, around places where form ties went through the walls when they originally poured it, and also where there were some settlement cracks and things like that. So we opted for an exterior solution to solve that water intrusion into our basement. There are many contractors out there that have some interior solutions, which may look like a perimeter drain around the inside of your foundation wall, running to a sump pit. Um, and all of these are effective ways to help manage the problem of water, but really you want to make sure your house is taking care of that water to begin with. So if you get it moved away from your home and your foundation, then your foundation has to work a lot less on fighting that water coming in.
Yeah. So we have about a minute left. I actually don't see if there are any questions. Again, it's our first live, so we're learning a little bit as we go. If there's any questions that we haven't answered this time around, we're going to let you know about it next time. So we plan to do these every 2 weeks. It's just 15 minutes, but we thought 8 p.m. might be a good time for people. Maybe you've already got kids in bed, or hopefully it's after evening sports things, or happy hours, or dinners with friends. And you could join us, Mr. and Mrs. Lighthouse, as I sometimes call us. And we're just jumping on to answer those questions that you might have as a homeowner, as someone who's living in a home, who's caring for a home. Um, I often say, like, the reason that people like to talk with inspectors is because we're not trying to sell you anything. There's no benefit to us to selling you any kind of a service for your home, or like a something to fix your home. We're really just here to inform. All of our inspectors really like to educate. So we just thought this would be an opportunity for people to get their questions answered without having to call us out to their home for a full home inspection. So hopefully we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
See you all later.